Okay, so for this first build on my channel, I've got a job for a 5-string fretless bass. Now, I've never built a bass guitar before, so this will be first for me. Also, I've never done anything fretless. Theoretically, though, that should make things easier. Since I've been building guitars, I've built guitars from everywhere, from parts kits, not necessarily kits, but like parts acquired that are already shaped and cut. All I had to do was assemble them, all the way up to fully and complete builds. That means carving the neck and like a Stratocaster knockoff with an extensive amount of carving for the armrest part and the belly cut. It's a lot of carving, and nailed that. I've got pictures of that I can show you. But this is a first. I'm going to do a fretless 5-string bass. So hopefully that'll come out great. I've got to go through the design process. It'll be close to an Ibanez model, but I'm going to throw it off a little bit just so I'm not completely copying that. But it should be a great experience for me and for anybody who wants to follow along. So stay tuned as I go into the next few scenes where I'm gathering materials and going through the design process. And eventually we'll get into actually making sawdust. All right, I just got to my local woodcraft store, and the idea is to try to find fretboard, ebony fretboard, and a couple other pieces of wood and some gray dye. It's kind of like my Toys R Us. It's been a while since I've been here, since I've been away in Korea for a year. Morning. How we doing?
Thank you.
Good.
Maybe we help you today.
Need an ebony fretboard for a bass guitar, so longer. I think that's ebony.
Let's just take How long?
26 inches minimum. I know. That's not gonna be wide enough.
How wide's it have to be?
3 inches. 1/4 inch thick.
Very good. Let us know if you have any questions.
Thank you. That's what I thought. The other option I can do is maybe walnut or some of this other stuff. This is actually green. Purple would be cool. That would be really nice. Back here. Might have to make a decision and call an audible and go a different direction. This is ebony, but that's about as long as they get. If only it was longer. It's also a $65 piece of wood. All right, here it is. So I went with the WEN-GAY. It's nice and dark. It's a hard wood. Kind of enough to get a couple boards out of it. A couple fretboards. All right, so I just got back from, good timing. He turns on his power tools across the street. Anyway, I just got back from the woodcraft store and was met by the UPS driver who delivered the curly maple that I ordered from, actually I'll give him a plug here real quick, curlymaplewood.com. Guy named Kevin. He was really easy to work with, and he threw in a free blank. Not sure what I can do with that. Maybe I can turn some knobs or something out of it. I'm sure I can find something to do with it, but he didn't have to do that, so it was nice. So yeah, this is what I got. So I've got two of the tiger stripe, or the curly maple. I was going to use something different for the neck, but I think I might use a neck for this. I bought two to kind of choose between which one would be the better one, but I think I like this one for the body, and then I'll resaw this to make the cap. That's going to go over these ash pieces, and this is WEN-GAY or WEN-GAY. I really don't know what it's called, but this is going to be the fretboard, and it's also going to be a laminate strip that's going to go between. If I use this as the neck, I'll be splitting the neck and gluing that together with a strip of this, just for accent and strength. So hopefully that all turns out, but I've got a lot to work with here in both cases for a neck. I can even get a couple guitars out of this, so I'm pretty excited about this. I can get a couple necks out of this. This is 40 inches. That's actually 41, I believe it was. Let me get a tape measure and double check that. But I've also got this piece of maple that I was going to use for the neck. But I'm liking the look of this one. It's really high figured. 40 and a half. It's going to be really tight. I'm not sure what my final dimension of the neck is going to be with the headstock and to be a full neck through. If I can't get it fully to the end of the base, then I will do some fun tricks. Alright, so now let me tell you about what I've got planned for this bass guitar. It's going to be 34-inch scale, which is pretty standard. It's going to have 24 frets, even though it's fretless. It's going to be 24 positions. The fretboard's going to be long enough for 24, notes down each string. The bass itself is going to have an ash body. The base of the body is going to have an ash core, and then on top of that is going to be some of that tiger flame maple as a cap. And I've got about probably 3/4, probably a little less than 3/4, probably more like 5/8 to work with for the thickness on the cap, and that'll be book matched and come together to have a nice mirror image of the flame. I haven't decided yet if I'm going to do an arm carve, like a slope on the back of the hip of the bass, and I'm also debating on whether I want to do a carved top, similar to like what you'd see on a Paul Reed Smith, or I may just go flat with a large radius edge around the edge on both sides, the front and the back of the base. And then the pattern, the color that we're going to do is gray burst. So it's going to be gray faded outward to solid black, and I believe I'm going to go solid black all the way around on the back to cover the ash. And then the neck is going to be a neck through, which means that the entire length of the base is going to be all the neck wood, and that's going to be laminated with that winge. I still don't know. I need to look that up, the proper terminology. I'm sure I'm going to get plenty of people in the comments telling me what the proper pronunciation is. But that's going to be at least one stripe for an accent and strength down the middle of two pieces of that flamed maple that I'm deciding to go with. The headstock is going to have a 7 degree back angle that I've already decided, which is going to be a scarf joint, which the joint is a slant, and I'm going to get into details on how to create a scarf joint, but that's going to be slanted probably from the middle of the 4th fret position all the way to the back of the nut, where it's going to continue on to the headstock. It's going to have the shallower base tuners. It's going to have 5 of those, obviously, 3 to the left or top and 2 to the bottom. And I've got a bridge picked out on Amazon. I forget what it's called, but it looks pretty nice, and I've got the dimensions for that already. All that is something that you have to consider when you're designing your base, because that affects the string height and string width. And the string height is important because you want to know how much clearance you've got from the actual fretboard to where the body level is. And again, I'm going to go into all that in detail once we get to that point. What else? It's going to have an inlay on the 12th fret position of a cat with a bass clef tail, and this is for the customer. She has a tattoo on her wrist with that same cat that I've agreed to put on the 12th fret position, and then I'm going to do some floral accents on the head, and on the back I'm going to do her name. Also her initials is AJ. That's going to go on the back, and all that is going to be in abalone pearl, which I have on order already, coming from China. What else? There's a lot of decisions to be made still as to how we're going to put pickups in it, and the knobs, whether they're going to be active or passive. Active being that they're powered from within, so that's actually a battery. On the back there's going to be a control cover, and the customer is a Filipino lady, so I'm thinking about incorporating the Philippines flag into the back control cover, and that's going to be highly ornate with inlaid different pieces of wood. It's going to be pretty awesome. Locking tuners, or locking strap pegs, of course, and then we'll come up with something nice for a hard shell case. Still, we'll have a lot of decisions along the way to make, such as fret markers. We still got to do fret markers across the top, so we know where we're at on a fretless base. There's no frets, so it'd be good to be able to look down and see you're in the 5th position or whatever. And I'll probably stick with the abalone pearl accents that we can use for fret markers. All right, I'm going to go ahead and show off the high figure of this maple that we're going to be using for these bases. Again, this is going to be for the top, and the one over here is going to be for the neck. I think the curly maple is always going to be one of my most favorite pieces or types of wood to work with, because it's just so beautiful, and anybody who uses this is going to pop the grain every chance they get just to admire it. What I'm going to be doing is putting some alcohol on the surface of it, and it exposes the high figure of the grain as if it was just to show off how it's going to look under a finish. So I'm going to go ahead and do that now. Oh, and there's the neighbor's power tools again. So this is how it would look under like a coat of polyurethane or something, and it gives you a very almost a holographic image of what this grain produces. So if I move it around under the light, it shows a lot of depth. I just can't look at this type of grain enough. So this is the surface of what the base is going to be, book matched. So we're going to split it down the middle and open it up like a book, and you're going to have a mirror image of these stripes that are going to come together at a seam in the middle. Alright, so that's that one. Now for the neck. Very beautiful. And I'll probably end up doing this 2 or 3 more times before I even finish it. You can see how the light reflects off of the grain, off the cross grain as you move. It just shows so much depth in there. Mother Nature can be a beautiful thing, huh? Working with curly maple can also be very frustrating, because once you start milling it, these grains, these cross grains, have a tendency to chip out a lot more frequently than if you're working with just grain that goes this way. Because what you're seeing here is cross grain, and that's the flaw in the tree. This is the regular growth rings that you see, but these are also rings that go across the grain. What I'm talking about with the tear out, when you mill it, you can see how prone it is to chipping out as the blades pass over it. It just tears out chunks. Like right here, that's tear out. There's not a whole lot you can do to prevent that, except get it down to close to dimension and then run it through a sander, like I have, a drum sander.